Howdy folks, and welcome back at long last to Cold Waters with Commander Jingles McJingleberry, US Navy. I know it's been a long time since I did a Cold Waters video, but I've been waiting for this. This is the beta test of the brand new, and it's not even downloadable content, it's basically a free content patch, the South China Sea campaign for Cold Waters. Now remember, this is a test. Some things may not work as they probably should. But I'm going to have a go anyway. It's just that little bit at the bottom of the screen is worrying me. Difficulty hard. Very capable submarines and weapons. What's the worst that can happen? So, what new toys do I get to play with in the South China Sea campaign? Is that a Seawolf class nuclear attack submarine I see before me? I do believe it is. This is quite possibly the most sophisticated and deadly attack submarine ever built. Ludicrously expensive, which is why the US Navy only built 3 of them before realising, well, the Cold War's ended now, maybe we don't actually need an entire fleet of these things. But this isn't the only submarine you can try out in this campaign. You've also got the Los Angeles class Flight 2 and 3, but we're going to be having a go in the USS Seawolf. Look at that baby. 8 weapon tubes, test depth of 1,600 feet. Surely nothing can survive at that depth. Well, apparently the Seawolf can. Well, let's find out. We're going to put this thing to the test. Let's kick the fires and light the tyres. It's possible that that should have been the other way around. Doesn't matter. Close enough for government work. So, the South China Seas campaign set in the year 2000s in a fictional timeline where those cheeky Taiwanese have declared their independence from mainland China. Also, the British government is delaying the handover of Hong Kong back to China, none of which is designed to put China in a very good mood. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse, the economy collapses. This has a knock-on effect with Russia, who experiences hyperinflation and in order to obtain some foreign cash reserves starts selling off advanced military equipment to the Chinese. Strapped for cash and resources and with a very capable military under their control, the Chinese government decides that they're going to enforce their territorial claims the old-fashioned way. And that's where yours truly, Commander Jingles McJingleberry, comes in. I begin the campaign enjoying a little rest and relaxation at the US naval base in Guam in the Marianas Islands, when the alert goes out that the Chinese Navy is conducting an amphibious invasion of Taipei, the capital of Taiwan. As the closest available unit, I'm dispatched to go and sort them out. The Chinese amphibious force is going to be leaving the port of Shantou in mainland China, here, and heading across the South China Seas straight to Taipei in Taiwan, here. So I'm proceeding at best possible speed across the Philippine Sea, the most direct route, transiting to the north of the Philippines, and hang on a second, what's that? No, that can't be it. I couldn't possibly have gotten here in time to intercept that. There must be another amphibious task force. So we're just going to lurk around here and get ready to intercept them. Wait, what? Discouraged to hear that you failed to Really? You know, if the Navy didn't have anything that was capable of getting there in time, why send anything? Oh, you needed somebody to take the blame for the fall. Okay, yeah, I get it. Thanks. No, really, thanks. Well, like I said, it is still in test, but that might be something that they may want to take a look at. Anyway, I have a new mission. Hopefully one that's actually physically possible to complete this time. Intelligence indicates that the enemy plans to reinforce its invasion force at Taipei with a convoy of supply ships, thought to be leaving Shantou soon. You must intercept and destroy this convoy before the landing of additional troops. Okay, fine, no problem. As it happens, I'm sitting in the exact correct spot to intercept any further convoys transporting troops to reinforce the landings at Taipei. So all I have to do is just sit here. Oh, here they come. Wait, where are they going? What are you doing? What? Seriously, look at this. This is a convoy reinforcing the landings at Taipei. And in order to do that, they're landing 390 kilometers away at the port of Kaohsiung, which is as far away from Taipei as they could physically land while still being on the island of Taiwan. So either the Chinese Navy got seriously lost, or I'm beginning to have grave misgivings about the quality of this US naval so-called intelligence. Although there is a third option. It could be that this is in fact the reinforcement convoy. The one that sailed from Shantou here. And maybe they just went the long way around to get there. Yeah, this might be something else that the developers might want to take a look at. I don't want to sound too critical here. I do realise that none of this is finished. I mean, that's the whole purpose of releasing it as a beta test. There are going to be bugs. There are going to be things that don't work quite as intended. That's absolutely fine. There are plenty of things to get excited about in this new South China Sea campaign. Although for the moment I'm getting excited for all the wrong reasons at the depth of water here in the South China Seas. Earlier on I was getting all hot and bothered about the fact that the Seawolf had a test depth of 1600 meters. I don't think I'm going to be putting that to the test here. Not with that depth of water under the keel of the boat. Huh. Is it all going to be like this? Let's just go back to the map for a second. It's a gorgeously detailed map, I'm sure you'll agree. But just take a look at the coast of Eastern Asia. Specifically, those sort of very pale, almost white-coloured areas of the ocean bordering that coastline, starting with the Yellow Sea between China and Korea, extending south into the East China Sea, passing Taiwan, hugging the Chinese coastline down to the Gulf of Tonkin and the northeast of Vietnam, extending around the coastline of Vietnam and Cambodia into the Gulf of Thailand. That's all very shallow water. In fact, the only deep water in the operating area is in the South China Sea itself. But unless China suddenly develops any kind of plans to invade the Philippines, I'm not really seeing any reason for me to be in the South China Seas. You never know, it could happen. It all depends on how badly I screw up, I suppose, but... Well, isn't that just typical? They give me a boat that has a test depth of 1600 metres and they say, here's your patrol area. Good luck going deeper than 250. Well, shit. Anyway, we have reacquired a contact, and I'm busy trying to get it identified. This is one of the new things about the South China Sea campaign, by the way. In previous iterations of Cold Waters, anything that you came across in your mission area was pretty much guaranteed to be fair game. It didn't really matter if you misidentified it. It was probably going to be an enemy vessel. Not so much in this campaign. There are all kinds of things that could be out here that aren't necessarily going to be enemy vessels. Whales, oil rigs, neutral merchant vessels. Who knows, at some point I may be able to stage from bases in South Korea, but not if I start sinking their merchantmen, so it's very important that I do correctly identify these targets. And by the sound of it, that is definitely a blue whale. That, however, blue whales aren't really known for emitting search sonar or having engine noises like that while cruising on the surface, so that is definitely an enemy surface combatant of some description. Well, it's a surface combatant of some description. It's not necessarily an enemy. It could be Taiwanese for all I know. So it's vitally important that you do positively identify all of your targets before you engage them, and not just because you don't want to drag a neutral country into the war by sinking some of their ships by accident. The sensor data that you have associated with the targets that you have identified is only accurate if you correctly identified them. Let's say I've picked up a sonar contact, and I've classified it, as I'm about to do here, as a Chengdu class frigate. Assuming it is a Chengdu class frigate, I know exactly what kind of sensors it has and what their capabilities are. And I can take a look down here at the contact sensor data, and with a reasonable degree of confidence, based on what I know of his sensors and the kind of return I'm getting from his sensors, whether or not he actually stands a reasonable chance of detecting me at any given time. But those figures are only accurate if I've correctly classified the contact. If it's a different type of vessel with a different type of sensors, those numbers are meaningless and they don't actually help me. It also, well, it doesn't really help much that I'm not familiar at all with the capabilities of the type of vessels in use by the Chinese Navy. So, you know, there's that as well. Okay, we've identified one of those targets as a neutral merchantman, so I'm going to need to be very, very careful firing torpedoes around that guy. What's concerning me slightly more at the moment, of course, is the fact that Contact Sierra 2 has disappeared, and I haven't been able to reacquire contact. Whoever they are, they're being very, very quiet. And my course is more or less heading straight towards it. So I suspect that's an enemy submarine. I'd prefer to know it was an enemy submarine, and I'd really like to know exactly what kind of enemy submarine it is. So I'm going to adjust my course, because I don't want to just blunder right into him and potentially have him pick me up before I detect him, and before I've managed to identify and get accurate target solutions on all of those other contacts to the south. Okay, depth 150 feet, speed 5 knots, adjusting course. Towed array should be out. I want to give myself the best possible chance, and we're on our course now. Want to give myself the best possible chance of firming up these target solutions and reacquiring Contact Sierra 2. I'm certainly not going to start giving my position away and putting torpedoes in the water until I know where that guy is. So for now it's just a question of being patient and waiting. I am in a very, very quiet boat, and I do have state-of-the-art sensors. But I suspect if Contact Sierra 2 is a submarine and it's operating in waters this shallow, ranging ahead of an amphibious invasion resupply convoy, it's probably going to be a diesel-electric boat. It'll be running on batteries, and it's going to be extremely quiet. So while we're waiting, we're going to go ahead and continue to classify the contacts that we do have. And that's another escort. Still nothing on Sierra 2 though. That is worrying. Oh, new contact. 190. Sierra 6. Alright, let's take a look and see what you are. Matching up the waterfall display there. Oh, yeah, that looks like that's a replenishment ship. And it's an enemy replenishment ship. So, 6 contacts, 2 escorts, 2 enemy replenishment ships, one carrying stores and the other carrying oil and fuel, 1 blue whale, and we still don't know where Sierra 2 is. My target solutions on some of these contacts, the Chengdu and the other frigate down to the southeast, are actually pretty good. I could take torpedo shots against those guys now. But I don't want to do that until I've acquired contact with Sierra 2. I could sit here and just wait. I mean, they're heading in my direction anyway. Or I could try to provoke them into doing something stupid. If I was to fire a MOS, a mobile submarine simulator, across the path of their approach, that might provoke Sierra 2 into revealing its position. Wait, a 7th contact. Wow. Okay, well, let's get this thing identified. Yep. It's another enemy merchantman. So, 7 contacts. Still don't know where Sierra 2 is. I am going to load a MOS into Tube 8. And I'm going to fire that across the line of advance of this enemy convoy. And then I'm going to watch and see what they do. MOS is almost loaded. There's our little friend, the blue whale. I will call him George. Hello, George. How are you doing? Okay. Tube 8's ready. MOS is loaded. Firing point procedures. Tube 8 MOS. Bearing 142 degrees. Range, let's make it 14,300 yards. Shoot Tube 8.
Shoot Tube 8. Aye, sir.
Jolly good. Basically what we're doing here is we're taking a big stick and poking it into the nest. shaking it around and seeing what happens. Is that a good idea, Jingles? I don't know. I was in the Navy, but I wasn't a submariner. I just got hunted by submariners. Right, anyway, so what we're doing now is we're just waiting to see what happens. We're watching for these escorts. Oh, no helicopters on these escorts. Well, that's good news. We're waiting to see what they do. We're looking for sudden changes in course and speed. Things like that. Waiting to see when they detect moss, basically, and what they do about it. And hopefully, we're going to see Sierra 2 fire a torpedo at it. I'm guessing that Sierra 2 is going to be ahead of these escorts. Probably substantially closer to me than the escorts are. And I might, if I'm lucky, depending on how close he is, actually hear him flooding his torpedo tubes before he fires a weapon. So, you know, fingers crossed. What are these escorts up to? I think they are actually changing course. You know what? I'm going to speed up a little bit. I mean, if somebody does fire a weapon at that moss, and it doesn't acquire the moss, it's going to keep coming. So I don't really want to be on the same line of bearing. I should probably put a little bit more distance between myself and my launch position. So 10 knots will do. I can't afford to go any faster than 10 knots. Not in this depth of water. I'll start cavitating and completely give my position away. And it does look like these escorts are actually changing course and speeding up. Now, that could just be a completely random course change as part of their anti-submarine warfare patrol sweeps. But they're heading towards the moss. So it probably isn't. I think the moss has been detected. Still not hearing anything from Sierra 2. That is kind of frustrating. Let's get Tube 8 reloaded. I suspect I may need it. Let's have a look at some of these other surface contacts. That's a tanker. You can see the derricks and hoses midships there for refueling other ships while underway. I've actually done that many, many times. My job during a replenishment at sea or a RAS was Batman. Yes, I was Batman. No, really. It's not nearly as glamorous as it sounds. You'd hold a couple of coloured bats in your hands and pass signals from one ship to the other, letting them know when to start pumping, when to stop pumping, when to tension the lines, etc., etc. I'm at periscope depth now, by the way. I'm going to risk getting my ESM mast spotted by popping it up and trying to refine some of these contacts. And I think that's just about long enough. Didn't really do me any good. Still no sign of Sierra 2. Let's get back down. Mast stowed and rigged for diving. Wherever Sierra 2 is, he's not taking the bait. Although the surface escorts, judging by the way they're adjusting course and speed, they definitely are. So it's a kind of good news, bad news situation. Sierra 2, where are you? And what are you? Well, I know he's a submarine. I would have detected anything other than a submarine at this point. You know what? I'm going to just have to start taking shots at these surface escorts because they're getting too close. So you can have a torpedo. You can have a torpedo. You can have a torpedo. And you can have a torpedo. And don't worry, there's plenty more where they came from. Okay, we're at 150 feet. I guarantee you somebody will have heard that. Oh, there it is. We've got him. He's got a weapon in the water. Right, I'm cutting the wires. I'm setting the weapons to active. The question is that weapon fired at me or is it fired at the moss? Let's not stick around to find out. I'm snapshotting a weapon at contact Sierra 2 and turning around to get the hell out of here. I do not know whether or not that weapon was fired at me or the Moss, and I do not want to risk. I mean, this is a hell of a risk either way. I don't really want to risk going faster than 10 knots, cavitating and confirming my position in case that weapon was fired at the Moss. And it is. It's a Romeo class diesel electric submarine. Pretty much exactly what I expected. The problem now, of course, is when I turn away, I'm going to put all of those contacts in my baffles, and I'm going to lose contact. So heading due north is probably not a fantastic idea. Let's come left to 291 instead. Yeah, and I'm losing contact with everything now. But I expected this because they're in the baffles. That's the dead zone, effectively, where you have no sonar to the rear of your submarine. Once I bring the boat around, I should begin to reacquire those contacts, though. Like that. Okay, there goes the Chengdu. He was quite close. And I'm regaining contact with all of these other contacts. Well, with the exception of Sierra 2. But I have a weapon looking for him. More importantly, I'm not seeing his weapon. I think it did actually go after the Moss. So they fell for it. And we're reacquiring all of those contacts. Well, not all of them, but we will. I'm confident of that. Let's see what these weapons get up to. Somebody's dropping a noisemaker. I really hope that's the Romeo. Go gadget torpedoes. Got him. Submarine down. So he's the biggest threat. We've taken care of him. The Chengdu, which was the closest surfaced escort, has also been sunk. Oh, hang on a minute. What's that noise? Do you hear that noise? That's an aircraft engine. Yep. Maritime patrol aircraft. That is not good news. I was kind of hoping that after taking care of the escorts, I would be able to, assuming that the other torpedoes that are fired against the replenishment ships, assuming they fail to acquire a target, I could come up to periscope depth, pop up my radar mast, get radar contacts on the surviving replenishment ships and finish them off with missiles. But I can't do that if there's a maritime patrol aircraft overhead. Ooh. Alright, that's good news. Scratch 2 escorts. Well, scratch 3 escorts, technically, if you count the Romeo-class submarine. Another weapon is on countermeasure homing, which means... Countermeasure homing. Who's dropping countermeasures? Can the replenishment ships drop countermeasures? I don't know. It wouldn't be... I've never seen a replenishment ship drop a countermeasure in the regular Cold Waters campaign. So if they're doing that now, it's a feature specific to the South China Seas campaign. Although if they're including it in the South China Seas campaign, it may be that it gets patched into the vanilla client as well. But this is curious. I want to see what happens to whatever this is. I don't have a good enough target solution on him. But it doesn't seem to matter. Sierra 4 is down. And that is definitely not one of mine. That is, and it's just gone active, that is an airdropped torpedo. It's gone active and it's circling. That's not actually bad news. The fact that it's circling and pinging tells me that it hasn't acquired a target and it's gone into a circle search pattern. So all I have to do is just stay the hell away from it and I should be fine. So, what's left to sink for this mission to be a success? Regain contact on Sierra 4. I don't care, I've sunk Sierra 4. I need to sink Sierra 6 and Sierra 7. Those are the two remaining transport ships, like this guy. I've nailed all of the escorts. I've killed one of the replenishment ships. I need to nail the other two. The only problem is they know that they're under attack and they're now heading away to the southeast. If I was to change course and pursue them, I'd run straight into that torpedo that's circling around looking for me. They're also doing 16 knots, and I can't really go any faster than 10 without giving my position away to that maritime patrol aircraft circling overhead. So how am I going to do this? I could launch missiles at them, but, well, the MPA would definitely detect the launch. There he is. What's he up to? What are you doing? I thought he was dropping sonar buoys, and I thought, well, that's no problem. He's miles away from me. And then suddenly I suffered flooding in the torpedo room. And then I realised, actually, yes, I was observing that drop from the location of the torpedo. That was actually me. He was dropping a pattern of 3 PLAB-120 Soviet depth bombs on. And at least 2 of them hit. Well, shit. They did warn me that this campaign was going to be significantly harder than what I may have been used to. And they weren't wrong. I have no idea how that MPA actually detected me. Possibly he was using a magnetic anomaly detector. I don't know. If he was, I don't really see what I could have done to avoid it. There just isn't enough depth of water for me to avoid detection. But he got me. So I'm going to have to start this again. This could be fun. You can opt into the beta, by the way, by simply going to Steam, pulling up your Cold Water's properties, going to the betas tab and just selecting betas. There's no product code that you have to enter. It's as simple as that. The game will automatically update the client to version 1.12 and you'll be able to test the South China Seas campaign for yourself. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.